मानुष्य के मित्रों को मेरा नमस्कार. Friends, in the first part of this program, leading political analyst Sushil Pandit and I discussed the many worrisome U-turns taken by Modi government on Jammu and Kashmir after the historic scrapping of Articles 370 and 35A. Some of these U-turns amount to negating the very purpose and spirit of neutering those two crucial articles. These include 1. Unilateral offer by Home Minister Amit Shah that the Government of India is willing to substitute Article 370 with 371. In that case, why the hell did the government scrap Article 370? 2. A new domicile law for J&K which makes 15 years of continuous stay in J&K a mandatory requirement before a person qualifies to be treated as a state subject. This is far more onerous than what prevails in other states of India. 3. Central government's continuing appeasement of pro-Pak separatist leaders. 4. Failure to file concrete charges against Islamic leaders of Kashmir who were put under house arrest. 5. Out-of-the-way support to Altaf Bukhari's J&K Apni Party, even though Bukhari has been involved in a lot of hawala scams, corruption deals, and even caught while transporting RDX for terrorist groups in Kashmir in his own car. 6. Failure to remove illegal Rohingya and Bangladeshi settlements in Jammu around army and air force bases. This is the most serious lapse of all. And so on. In this episode, Sushil Pandit and I discuss many more such alarming U-turns by the Modi government, which to a large extent nullify the intent behind the historic move scrapping Articles 370 and 35A. Both these sessions were recorded on May 25. In case you missed it, I urge you to watch part 1 of this program in order to get a comprehensive picture on this issue. Let's go over other U-turns. For example, with regard to panchayat elections, they announce them, then they go back on them. So on 10th of February 2020, they announced the
panchayat election. All those vacancies that needed to be filled, all those block chairmen, all they have to be elected. So on 10th of February, they announced that there will be elections. On 13th, 15th and 17th of February, they announced dates, schedule, where, when, how, nomination to be filed, voting to take place, counting to take place, so on and so forth. This goes on till 17th, and on 18th, they withdraw these elections.
And what's the justification of
Nothing. All this while they said, union territory is in peace, in order, everything is working well, there is no challenge to state's authority, there is no violence on ground, we are in full control. Then why are you postponing elections? No explanation.
But does it have anything to do with release?
We have to put 2 and 2 together.
Abdullah? Because
14th of February, if Abdullah gets released, and 17th of February, you put in refrigerator, freezer, what you had unleashed on 10th of February. Because on 10th of February, Abdullah was sent on additional 6 months of PSA.
PSA meaning?
Public Safety Act, detention.
Act, that's right. 10th, he's put on extension, 6-month extension.
And 10th, the elections are announced. By 14th, he is released. And by 17th, elections are withdrawn.
But that's another very bizarre U-turn.
Can you imagine?
You first extend somebody's PSA because you think the person actually will create a nuisance. And then within 4 days,
actually, you were proven right when you said that Jihad actually is propped up by the mainstream politics of Kashmir. It was proven right when you actually picked all of them and put them in preventive custody. Not a riot took place, not a protest took place,
and
not one state of violence, nothing.
No person has come out. I mean, for example, Kashmiris could be protesting even in Delhi demanding their release.
Nothing
there
happened.
Are plenty of students and businessmen and professionals, Kashmiri Muslims living in various state capitals.
None of that happened.
None of them have ever demanded that they be released, but these guys are so nervous. But more importantly, firstly, you lock them up in their own homes or in 5-star hotels. Then you can't make up your mind as to
what to do with them.
What kind of laws should be what kind of laws they should be booked under. See, Public Safety Act is just a preventive detention, right? Once it's over, then you extend it and that's it. But it doesn't take you to prison. It doesn't take you to trial. Am I right? Now, they should have been booked under something, because for months on end, before actually even the scrapping, you remember on TV we used to get these very dramatic videos of sting operations, of money, hawala transactions, of leading politicians, Kashmiri Muslim politicians, saying they can burn the entire city for X amount of money. All that happened. Day after day, TV channels were fed these releases, and then what happened to them?
Mirwais has not been questioned even once. Yasin Malik, Gilani, who were the kingpins of this racket, their lists of properties were bandied about by ED. See so much this
or
guy
Naeem
Khan, yes,
who said I can get all of XYZ place burned to ashes for so much money, and that I've done it before.
So the point
Then
is,
where are they?
Because you are willing to hit but unwilling to wound.
Actually, it could be very well argued that they're put under safe custody, because if they were out without state security, Mehbooba is not safe among her own people. Many among Kashmiri Muslims will lynch her. They're so angry with her.
Be my guest and do it.
That's right.
It is not, onus is not on me to protect her. What has she done to earn that kind of privilege?
But that's what that preventive custody is all about. Keep them safe.
Sorry.
Because
there need to be a white paper on her misdeeds, on her illicit links with Hizbul Mujahideen, how she has tweaked government policy, how she has sent compensation to dead terrorist families, how she has engineered their release, how she has hired 400 plus stone pelters as relationship managers in J&K bank, how she has looted that bank. You know, there has to be a white paper on the nexus between these senior politicians and the jihad raging on in Kashmir. That white paper needed to come out. How they were funded, how they were secured, saved. How, on the contrary...
J&K Bank was always an ATM for jihadi groups.
Absolutely.
It actually functioned as an ATM.
Absolutely.
For corrupt politicians, for jihadi groups. But, you know, this reminds me. 400 stone pelters, which is booked stone pelters, given relationship
with police records,
given jobs in J&K Bank. But then think of Narendra Modi setting up a Prime Minister's fund, special scholarship fund for Kashmiri students. Now that's another big U-turn. I'll tell you why. Because as Chief Minister of Gujarat, Modi was very proud of the fact that when the centre set up special schemes of scholarships, etc., for students of religious minorities, namely Christians and Muslims, he refused to implement them in his state. He says only economic criteria will work.
मुझे याद है मधु जी, एक इंटरव्यू हुआ था, ये 2014 के चुनावों से पहले हुआ था, जिसमें मोदी जी कहते हैं मेरे पास योजना आयोग आया, और योजना आयोग ने मुझसे पूछा आपने राज्य के अल्पसंख्यकों के लिए क्या किया है। मैंने कहा मैंने कुछ नहीं किया है।
शायद मेरा ही है वो इंटरव्यू।
तो वो बहुत हैरान हुए। तो फिर मैंने कहा मैंने बहुसंख्यकों के लिए भी कुछ नहीं किया है।
शायद वो मेरे ही इंटरव्यू।
हाँ, और फिर मैंने कहा मैंने केवल गुजरात के 5.25 करोड़ गुजरातियों के लिए सब किया। देश ने इस तरह की वक्तव्यों को सुन के उन्हें दिल्ली की सत्ता सौंपी थी। मैं आज पूछना चाहता हूं, मुझे एक ऐसी नीति बता दीजिए, एक ऐसी स्कीम बता दीजिए, शो मी वन पॉलिसी दैट हैज बीन चेंज्ड एवर सिंस ही केम टू पावर इन 2014 व्हिच आर गिवन स्पेशल privileges to minorities. Show me one.
It's
On the
not
contrary,
changed.
they have allocated
Increase,
more.
greater funds, much bigger funds. And what is
This
more,
is the mother of all U-turns.
most important of all, young Kashmiri students have come to me because they were hired for screening. You know, they were seeking volunteers to screen applications. And 3 of them who were working in that project, screening applications, came to me and said, can you please communicate to the government that people connected with terror groups are seeking and getting the scholarships. There's no screening process at all. They're not even looking at police records, leave alone the underground connections of these youngsters with Hizbul Mujahideen or XYZ. They were worried because not every Kashmiri Muslim wants mayhem. You know, there's a large segment of opinion which is now really tired of it. And yet, I mean, I tried to get this message across, but nobody bothered. So you are actually all the Shaila Rashids that have come to JNU and also branched all over university campuses, especially elite university campuses, and set up terror cells, are all on Pradhan Mantri's special scholarship fund. Why is he doing that?
Na shukre log hain.
And these are from wealthy families.
Absolutely.
Mind you, they're not even poor Muslims. Because Kashmiris firstly are not poor and they're better educated than the average citizen in other states.
Oh, you look at their personal lifestyle.
Yes, lifestyle.
What they wear.
No, but the sizes of their homes.
Yes.
Today, the biggest homes, if you see anywhere in India, the biggest bungalows you will find in Kashmir.
Madhuji,
and belonging to...
if there is one place in India
where land prices went up.
Where there are no homeless.
No homeless. No, but land prices kept shooting through the era of militancy. And, you know, normally...
100 times in 30 years.
That's right.
No place in the world infested with such terror, such disruption, has seen such escalation in real estate as Kashmir, which has supposedly no economy.
That's right.
That is the terror economy Kashmir runs on.
And loot from the government of India funds, our money, whereby Kashmiri parties have never given an account. The CAA has protested time and again that they never show accounts for money that's given to them for various grants. And even Modi government has not ensured that proper accounts are provided.
So there should have been a white paper on these discredited, tainted politicians as they cooled their heels in detention. On the contrary, they are now being cajoled and coaxed to come out and restart the democratic process.
And elections. Now this obsession with election. I think apart from that, Panchayati elections which were cancelled because Abdullah said, we are not prepared. What do you mean by holding elections so soon after my release? Am I right?
Probably. That must have been the case, and which is why elections were scrapped. But look at delimitation.
That's right. Yes.
Another sore point. How can you conduct delimitation of constituencies in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir when you know that 2001 and 2011 census were a fraud committed by a Jehadi system that was out to manufacture data in order to perpetuate the hegemony of Valley through more than proportionate share of political power, increase the number of legislative assemblies in the Valley, disproportionate to their
a larger number
of population,
percentage of population living in the valley, because that's the only way they'll get more seats than say Jammu region.
You know, Center for Policy Studies led by Dr. Jitendra Bajaj has done an analysis on the religious demography
of all of India,
including Kashmir, and he says in 2011 he looked at the birth rates.
Yes.
in Kashmir. And he says there is a 50% increase in the birth rate from the previous year, which means 2010 birth rate to 2011 birth rate is a 50% jump. He says it's not possible.
So
it's impossible.
Fudged figures.
And this creates a 15 lakh, almost 15 lakh surplus population, additional population in the valley compared to Jammu region.
Which is what gives the valley larger number of assembly seats than the Jammu region.
That is precisely the agenda, to corner bigger share of resources, to corner larger share of political power, and to perpetuate it through fudged figures. And everyone knows this. Yet, because this unwritten contract, because of this mindset that a de facto hegemony of valley politics, valley politician, Muslim domination has to continue, you are now creating a rational framework of perpetuating it.
Yeah.
And you will give them additional seats when they do not deserve it on the basis of population.
Not only that, because the kind of decline in population it showed for Jammu region, anywhere else in the world it would have rung alarm bells. Because 2%, 4% decline in population of a certain group is a matter of great alarm within a decade if it happens, right? In this case, they not only ignored that, but the new census was to be conducted in 2020, right? It had to start. The preparation has already started.
New census is going to, the process is starting, this 2021 census, the process has already started as of April.
And the Jammu region kept on. It's not as if people were silent.
Madhuji,
they were protesting all along.
Jammu has come public saying this delimitation is a fraud being committed. It should not be allowed to happen because it will perpetuate that servitude which we have been under because of ABCD reasons. You know what happens? There is some pretentious think tank promoted by BJP's, the Parivar network. Those people go public saying, but population is not the only basis for conducting delimitation. They don't probably know that 75% weight is on population.
Exactly.
25% weight is on other factors.
Geography, etc.
So they themselves are inventing rationalization. Instead of standing up for Jammu's interest, they are batting for this illegitimate, patently fraudulent exercise and justifying it. So if the nationalist, the patriotic forces in Jammu start justifying these policies, what do you do?
Look, why don't you say it openly? If BJP and RSS, don't say nationalist, patriotic, like that. If BJP and RSS start justifying and assisting and enabling the hegemony of Kashmiri Muslim domination over the politics of the state, who do you go to? Who do you go to? Because we thought we'd had enough of the Congress betraying the interests of India in order to placate these jihadis. But this party with Modi at the helm seems to be following exactly the same path and sometimes doing even worse in some things.
I'll never forget when in 2015 budget, the then finance minister sanctioned an aims for Kashmir.
That's right. Also for Jammu, and Mehbooba Mufti ensured it.
So there was one aims sanctioned in that budget. So the MP from Udhampur, who was the minister in the PMO, he congratulated
Dr. Jitendra Singh.
You've named him. He congratulated the people of Jammu for this gift coming from centre. And the deputy chief minister in that government, who's again representing Jammu, says no power on earth can snatch it from the valley. Can you imagine two public representatives from Jammu itself of the same party were at loggerheads publicly? It shows that there is something else driving them.
No, but you see, Dr. Nirmal Singh's servitude is explained by the fact that he is involved in certain scams, especially with regard to J&K Bank. He also took some loans on for malafide purposes, etc. So he was easy to blackmail. He was easy to manipulate. Mehbooba could order him to do or say anything. But what about the central government? That's the issue. And they didn't let land be acquired. Why? Because under Roshni Act, the land meant for aims in Jammu is already under occupation of certain Muslim groups. Am I right?
Madhuji, governments love compromised people because they are willing to be tweaked. They are willing to be cardboard cutouts and do your bidding. So compromised people are most convenient people because they have no compunctions and they will do whatever you want.
That's right.
Everybody loves a compromised person.
Not everybody. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying
people got tired of compromised politicians, which is why they booted Congress out. They booted left parties out. I don't think people in this country are particularly fond of them. It's just that we get let down again and again. Now, just let's wind up that
elections take place once in 5 years, and they can be won on Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Vande Mataram, Jai Hind, Tukde Tukde Gang. You know, you have to, because Indians are patriotic enough to be invoked in that passion.
A couple of hit jobs at Pakistan,
So, you've cracked the formula of winning elections. So, the everyday policy, the everyday decision can be according to your whims and fancies. Elections are to be won in a different manner. That's a different cup of tea.
No, but where's the advantage to anybody? Now, for example, we were talking about elections and delimitation. So, Kashmir gets a 15 lakh population advantage as per the 2011 census. And had they waited and done an honest census, which is required anyways.
Within 2 years.
Within 2 years. So there was no need to rush it through on the basis of announce everything as per the, announce delimitation on the basis of the 2011.
Unless you are rushing to placate the same set of discredited politicians and saying nothing will change because you will still get the advantage.
No, but it's not even as if people in their thousands or lakhs came out to back these politicians. Nobody.
They are your puppets, and you want new set of puppets who will do your bidding.
They are using the same puppets, sorry. Not even new set of puppets.
Well, Altaf Bukhari was puppet's puppet. Now he is directly your puppet.
But we don't know how long.
Nobody knows how long.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how many puppeteers, puppet around with that puppet. So, Kashmir is wheel within wheels. But some of the people calling the shots at Raisina Hill have only as much familiarity with Kashmir as Eskimos have with sand dunes. So you never know.
But they didn't even show familiarity with Shaheen Bagh.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a pattern to it. I don't think it's just Kashmir. There's so much that is, being done in the rest of India too, which shows going out of your way to appease. For example, special training and scholarships for Muslims and Christians to enter the IAS, the IPS and the civil services. On what ground? Even the Congress never did that. They never did that. Let them. Already they are at an advantage. Already their communities are doing a lot for them. They are far better organized than, let's say, most Hindu communities are. in terms of supporting the poor among them to enter competitive exams. And this Prime Minister ensured, and he's announced it from rooftops, that he would like more of them to enter, and doing everything. And now you know that India Today
80% of our
80% of our scholarships covering several ministries is
20 ministries.
Yes, 20 ministries, 19
or 20.
19 ministries. 80% of scholarships are going to Muslims.
And Hindus come at number 3.
That's right, after Christians.
7% is Christians.
That's right.
And then there are Sikhs, and then there are Hindus. You know what? I think Indian state has become a proselytizing state.
This is actually giving incentives for conversions, because if you can get into the civil services on a preferential basis on account of being a Muslim, get special scholarships for admission in elite institutions, if you're a Muslim or a Christian, why would you not want to convert?
So Government of India is giving you incentives to convert.
That's right.
Government of India is asking Hindus to convert if they wish to take advantage of government policies. If they wish to benefit from government policy, they must convert, is a simple writing on the wall for the Hindus. And you know, the irony is, when a missionary or a madrasa brings dollars into India to convert Hindus, at least Government of India's forex reserves go up. Here government is using me, my taxpayers' money, to convert me.
That's right.
So who benefits? I am being converted with my money, as opposed to madrasa and missionary converting it through dollars, either petrodollars or Baptist dollars coming in, church dollars coming in.
During UPA or Congress or other regimes, the missionaries at least felt obligated to. They had a very cozy relationship, respectful relationship to the regime. Now, even though Modi government is bending itself backward to placate them, to enable them to carry on with their work, even during Corona, the way they facilitated the coming of these Tabligis from abroad at great risk to India, and they get abused. BJP is abused day in and day out in the foulest of languages. Congress was never abused like that. And for what? For actually outperforming Congress in showing generosity towards conversion mafias.
See, BJP has been permanently guilt-tripped. उनके ऊपर एक ठप्पा, वो ब्रांडिंग होती है ना, जो लोहे को ताप के जानवर के ऊपर की जाती है, निशान बनाने के लिए, परमानेंट निशान बनाने के लिए,
बच्चन पे मेरा बाप चोर है,
हाँ,
वैसा हो गया ना?
तो उनके ऊपर सांप्रदायिकता का ठप्पा, ब्रांडिंग लगा दी गई है, जो उनकी चमड़ी पर गोद दी गई है एक लोहे, तपे हुए लोहे से। अब ये उसको छुड़ाने के लिए बहुत छटपटाते हैं कि हम पर से ये सांप्रदायिकता का लेबल हटा दिया जाए, और ये वही लोग हटाएं जिन्होंने कि इसको छाप दिया है हम पर। तो एक मानसिक गुलामी की अवस्था है जिसमें उन्हीं लोगों से सर्टिफिकेट लेना है जो लोग आपको दिन रात थूकते हैं, लात मारते हैं, गाली देते हैं, आपके औचित्य पे प्रश्न उठाते हैं। उन लोगों से आपको सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए। उसके लिए आप रियाद जाएं और वहां से हाईएस्ट सिविलियन ऑनर लेके आएं। उसके लिए आप अबू धाबी जाएं, दुबई जाएं, संयुक्त अरब अमीरात जाएं।
चलिए, उसमें हमें खुशी है, तुम्हें सर्टिफिकेट मिल गया, परंतु कम से कम घर आके तो दिमाग सही रखो। नहीं,
उसके लिए आप रात को 2 बजे नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर को भेजेंगे मरकज, हाथ पांव जोड़ने के लिए कि खुदाया बाहर आ जाइए, हमने आपका इलाज करना है, आपके लोगों का इलाज करना है, तो कृपया आप अंदर मत बने रहिए, हमें आपकी सेहत की चिंता है।
और उनको वहां सील भी किया जा सकता था कि आप बाहर नहीं आ सकते, ठीक है।
जो भी करना था वो एक हेड कांस्टेबल 10 पुलिस वालों के साथ जाके कर सकता था। आप उसके लिए नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर को रात को 2 बजे भेजते हैं चिरौरी करने के लिए।
बिल्कुल। अच्छा ये बताओ, एक बड़ा प्रॉमिस था मोदी गवर्नमेंट का, रिटर्न ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित्स, बिकॉज विदाउट दैट, आई मीन अदरवाइज व्हाई डू द तमाशा ऑफ scrapping article 370 35A? The whole idea was that the historic wrongs done to Hindus of that state have to be undone. So what's happened to that?
2018 में जब एक माननीय गृह मंत्री जी को आरटीआई के तहत पूछा गया, देश की आरटीआई, एक एक्टिविस्ट ने, आरटीआई जिन्हें मैं जानता हूं, उन्होंने बाकायदा पूछा, लिख करके पूछा कि क्या आपके पास कश्मीरी हिंदुओं के पुनर्स्थापन के लिए कोई नीति या प्रस्ताव है विचाराधीन? तो उसका लिख करके टका सा जवाब आया
होम मिनिस्ट्री से,
जी हाँ, कि हमारे पास ऐसा कोई प्रस्ताव, कोई नीति विचाराधीन नहीं है।
तब शायद राजनाथ सिंह थे होम मिनिस्टर।
जी हाँ,
and he gave it in writing that they have no plans for the return
लिख करके आया है जुलाई के महीने में।
But Kashmiri Pandits didn't agitate about it?
हम लोग सुप्रीम कोर्ट जा चुके थे कि साहब सैकड़ों एफआईआर्स हैं, हजारों लोग मारे गए हैं, कत्ल हुए हैं, बलात्कार हुआ है, उजाड़े गए हैं, मंदिर तोड़े गए हैं, घर लूटे गए हैं। इस एक भी जघन्य अपराध की, इन जेनोसाइडल क्राइम्स की आज तक किसी एफआईआर पर तफ्तीश होके, कई जगह एफआईआर भी है, अच्छा, लेकिन पूछताछ नहीं है, इन्वेस्टिगेशन नहीं है, चार्जशीट नहीं है, प्रोसिक्यूशन नहीं है, कोई सेंटेंसिंग, कोई गिल्टी फाइंडिंग, कुछ नहीं है। किसी को आज तक उन हजारों अपराधों में से एक पर भी सजा नहीं हुई है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहता है कि अब तो 27 साल हो गए, कहां साक्ष्य मिलेंगे? आप लोग क्या पब्लिसिटी के लिए आए हैं? ये जस्टिस जेएस केहर थे, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के चीफ जस्टिस थे, उनके साथ जस्टिस चंद्रचूड़ थे। इन 2 लोगों की बेंच ने पब्लिकली कहा है आप लोग क्या पब्लिसिटी के लिए आए हैं? अब कौन से साक्ष्य मिलेंगे? फिर हमको कहा गया रुकिए रुकिए, दीपक मिश्रा जी बड़े राष्ट्रवादी जज हैं, वो इनके बाद चीफ जस्टिस बनेंगे, आप उनके यहां पुनर्विचार याचिका, एक रिव्यू पिटिशन लगाइए। हम दिल पर पत्थर रख के बैठे, कुछ महीने इंतजार किया, जस्टिस दीपक मिश्रा आए, उनकी बेंच के पास रिव्यू पिटिशन लगाया। उन्होंने भी उन्हीं जस्टिस चंद्रचूड़ के साथ बैठकर इस रिव्यू पिटिशन को रफा दफा किया। ये आखिरी दरवाजा था न्याय के लिए ठकठकाने वाला।
What's the justification?
Because Hindu lives don't matter. आप याकूब मेमन के लिए 3 बजे रात को उठेंगे, आप अफजल गुरु के लिए उठेंगे, आप उनकी फांसियों पे पुनर्विचार करेंगे, लेकिन आप एक पूरी नस्ल कुशी को, एक जेनोसाइडल क्राइम को न सिर्फ टाल देंगे, बल्कि 1 हफ्ते बाद मैंने खबर सुनी कि गांधी मर्डर केस रीओपन किया गया है, क्योंकि किसी ने पिटिशन में कहा 2 नहीं 4 गोलियां चली थीं। वो बाकी की 2 गोलियां कहां से आई, उसके ऊपर जांच हो के ये गोडसे की गोली से मरे थे या किसी और की गोली से। सुप्रीम कोर्ट रीओपन दैट केस व्हिच हैपेंड 70 years ago.
That's right.
But our case was 27 years antiquity and therefore not eligible for reopening.
By contrast, look at Bangladesh. It is not only tried, it's actually hanged war criminals.
1971 war criminals.
Yes.
उन पर ट्रिब्यूनल्स के तहत मुकदमे चले, उनको फांसियों पे लटकाया गया।
शेख हसीना has done that.
क्योंकि बांग्लादेश का लोकतंत्र हमारे देश के लोकतंत्र से सुपीरियर है, उनका क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम हमारे क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम से बेटर है।
No, I think it's also to do with Sheikh Hasina and her grit and determination. She means what she says. And she does it because she means it. I think the problem we have with our own Prime Minister is that we can't count on him to stick to his own word. He delights in 180-degree pendulum swing or these sharp U-turns all the time. Doesn't make sense. And you know, I mean, I often wonder, he doesn't even तो शराब भी नहीं पीते कि हम कहें कि नशेड़ी हैं, ड्रग्स लेते हैं तो, या बाइपोलर डिसऑर्डर है तो कभी एक बात, कभी वो. He has none of them. He has a very sattvic lifestyle. So nothing explains this, what he's doing. Now, so Kashmiri Pandits, firstly, you should not have had to go to Supreme
नशों
Court.
में सबसे बड़ा नशा सत्ता का होता है. उससे बड़ा नशा दुनिया में आज तक पाया नहीं गया
है ना, आप सत्ता में हैं, पर जिनकी वजह
नहीं, आपने
से
कहा
सत्ता
नशा
में,
नहीं करते हैं.
वो तो सही है.
हाँ.
चलिए, ये नशा तो एज चीफ मिनिस्टर भी रहा होगा,
बहुत बड़ा नशा होता है सत्ता
तो
का.
सही काम ही कर दो ना, क्योंकि फिर तो आपको इतिहास में युग पुरुष माना जाएगा, विच
नहीं.
इज व्हाट ही वांट्स टू बी रिमेम्बर्ड
तो
एज.
युग पुरुष तो वो हैं, आप माने या न माने, वो
अगर
तो है.
ऐसा ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड छोड़ेंगे तब भी.
देखिए, बहुत लोगों के लिए वो ऑलरेडी एक युग पुरुष हो गए हैं.
नहीं, हमारे लिए भी है, मान लिया, आपके लिए भी हैं. जब वो कुछ अच्छा काम करते हैं, तुम और मैं भी उनको युग पुरुष मानने को तैयार थे 5 अगस्त को, जब उन्होंने न्यूटर किया आर्टिकल 37.
नहीं, मुझे दूर दूर तक उनका विकल्प भी दिखाई नहीं पड़ता है. इसीलिए सबसे ज्यादा परेशानी है कि हमें जाना इसी दरवाजे पर है, लेकिन क्या उम्मीद लेके, क्या आशा लेके जाएंगे, आप कैसे करेंगे, किससे करवाएंगे?
अच्छा, दूसरा, अभी इनको इलेक्शन का बुखार है बहुत ज़्यादा. कश्मीर में कोई नहीं इलेक्शन चाहता. जितने लोगों को मैं जानती हूँ, कश्मीरी मुस्लिम्स भी, वो सब कहते हैं कि हमें अच्छा एफिशिएंट गवर्नर रूल, वी आर मच हैप्पियर, वी डोंट वांट द ओल्ड रोग्स टू कम बैक टू पावर, एंड वी डोंट सी द पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ गुड ऑनेस्ट पीपल अराइजिंग अंडर द एग्जिस्टिंग इकोसिस्टम. Now, if Kashmiris are not desperate for election, why is this government so desperate? Because they keep not only floating parties but announcing now they are ready, will be doing it soon. They don't want it. Who's it for?
देखिए, ये जो एक मानसिकता है ना पुरानी, 5 अगस्त को आपने चाहे दुनिया बदल दी हो कश्मीर को लेके, भारत को लेके, लेकिन जिन लोगों के भरोसे और जिन लोगों के माध्यम से आप वहां काम कर रहे हैं, उनका जो कश्मीर को देखने का, भारत को देखने का तरीका है, वो अपनी आदत से मजबूर हैं. उनकी कंडीशनिंग ऐसी हुई है, तो उनका परामर्श भी ऐसा ही आता है. और आप भी एक
नहीं, पर नरेंद्र मोदी को परामर्श इतना कहाँ से चाहिए? He knows the issues. He's not a greenhorn.
I don't think he does know the issues.
He doesn't know what Kashmir needs.
I
But
have my
as
doubts.
I said, he's taken a U-turn on so many issues.
Yes.
With regard to his own stand, with regard to religious minorities, pampering, हमेशा तुष्टिकरण के खिलाफत में रहे, जिस तरह के अब जैसे पिंक रेवोल्यूशन, कितना अग्रेसिव स्टैंड था मोदी का ऑन द कैंपेन ट्रेल,
जबकि वो पॉलिटिकल डिस्कोर्स का हिस्सा ही नहीं था, वही लेके आए थे इसको.
लेके आए थे.
देश श्वेत क्रांति चाहता है, देश हरित क्रांति चाहता है, लेकिन वोट बैंक की राजनीति में डूबी हुई दिल्ली सरकार पिंक रिवॉल्यूशन करना चाहती है. पिंक रिवॉल्यूशन.
नाउ पिंक रेवोल्यूशन के तहत, which is export of beef, has increased manifold, far from getting shut down.
उसको पहले एक्साइज ड्यूटी रिलीफ मिला. जो व्यक्ति ये प्रश्न करता था कि इस देश में सब्सिडी कत्ल खानों को जानी चाहिए या किसानों को जानी चाहिए, उस देश ने, उन्हीं की सरकार ने एक्साइज ड्यूटी में रिलीफ दिया, एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव्स दिए. और फिर कॉमर्स मिनिस्टर, जो आज फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर हैं, उन्होंने एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करके अपनी पीठ थपथपाई कि हम दूसरे नंबर से पहले नंबर पे आ गए हैं बीफ एक्सपोर्ट में.
बीफ एक्सपोर्ट में. Now this is another hideous U-turn. Unforgivable.
इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं, कम से कम कश्मीर के विषय में मुझे नहीं लगता कि उनकी जानकारी के स्रोत या उनके अनुभव पर्याप्त हैं इस विषय में सही निर्णय लेने के लिए.
But then he doesn't listen to people from, say for example, from Jammu. People like you are on television channel every second evening, shouting, hoarse, and telling him where things are going wrong. He could very well listen. He knows you, doesn't he?
Well, I don't have to claim anything.
No, you don't have to claim anything. I'm saying you're a public figure. And on Kashmir, you are out in the open every evening, every second day almost. So it's not as if I don't mean just you. There are others.
Oh, there are a lot of people.
And especially people in Jammu, like the Ikjut Jammu group, of which both of us are founder members. I see no reason why he should be not just ignoring them, but spiting them almost. Now,
because he doesn't like plain speak. He likes adulation. He likes adulation without caveats. If you treat him as God, put him on pedestal, worship him day in and day out, chances are he might turn towards you and say, Madhu ji, aapko kuch kehna hai? If you speak your mind, say, fine, I have all the information and intelligence I need. If I need any ideas from you, I'll give you one.
okay.
That's the attitude.
Now, we had expected, honestly, when Article 370 was neutered, I thought for the first time we perhaps might see a more Jammu-centric politics and a Hindu chief minister from Jammu region, because for 70 years Kashmiri Muslims had a monopoly over the chief minister's job and all key portfolios.
देखिए, आपको जम्मू के चीफ मिनिस्टर के नाम पर अगर भाजपा के नेता जैसा कोई चीफ मिनिस्टर मिल जाए,
इससे अच्छा बुखारी है.
तो आप अपनी किस्मत को कोसेंगे कि क्या मांग लिया. जम्मू की राजनीति में, भाजपा में आपने कुछ नाम लिए. एक डेप्यूटी चीफ मिनिस्टर थे,
सिंह का, बहुत he is treated worse than a slave would be by Mehbooba Mufti.
हाँ, तो जब वो उप मुख्यमंत्री थे,
but he was a great favorite of Muftis.
बिल्कुल,
because he is a blind rubber stamp and he will go far beyond their expectations in civility.
He fought publicly with Dr. Jitendra Singh on the issue of AIIMS, and he said no power under the sun can snatch it away from the valley, when Jammu needed it more than the valley. Valley already has a PGI in medical sciences. Sher-e-Kashmir Institute of Medical Sciences is a postgraduate institute of medical sciences in Srinagar. Jammu has none.
And Jammu's medical facilities are appalling.
Abysmal. They have to run to Amritsar, they have to run to Chandigarh, they have to keep running to Delhi.
Even for ordinary deliveries.
Yes.
They'll go to Pathankot or Chandigarh.
But this public representative, this deputy chief minister who was returned to assembly from Jammu, did this publicly. And then one who replaced him as deputy chief minister,
namely
Mr. Kavindra Gupta,
okay,
who was till then the speaker of the assembly. He has the singular world record of a speaker who expunged his own remarks.
Over what?
In the assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, his predecessor Akbar Lone, who continued to be an MLA then, who's now a Lok Sabha member from Baramulla, he screamed Pakistan Zindabad
in the assembly.
In the assembly. And speaker said, this is anti-national, it can't be allowed, and this is this is that, and he expunged his remarks.
No. The speaker ordered that Pakistan Zindabad be expunged from the record.
From the record, yes. So Kavindra Gupta, as speaker, objected to the remarks of Akbar Lone on the floor of the house and expunged his remarks.
Then?
When these remarks were expunged,
or ordered to be expunged, his party, Akbar Lone's party, which is National Conference members, and independent engineer Rashid type people, and some PDP members, all of them stood up to oppose this, to challenge this, and had all kinds of that, how can this be anti-national? Pakistan is a legitimate country and India has friendly relations with it. How can this be the, all kinds of inventive argument in order to justify this. And push came to shove, this speaker expunged his own remarks and allowed Pakistan Zindabad to be retained.
Imagine.
That's the kind of leadership quality BJP nurtures in Jammu?
Yes, promotes him to become the deputy chief minister. So if one of these worthies are tomorrow picked up as chief minister of the union territory by this party, because that's what they promote within their system, rubber stamps, cutouts, cardboard cutouts, who cannot either think, have no self-respect, have no determination, have no political sense.
In fact, MLA Pawan Gupta, one of the best educated among
Far
BJP
more,
MLAs,
yes.
and
Who was denied ticket.
Who was denied ticket.
Who won on his own merit.
During Modi wave from...
Absolutely. From Udhampur, where BJP led by more than 25,000 votes in Lok Sabha elections, he made sure that the official candidate of BJP lost his deposit.
No, but he's from an RSS family. He's third generation RSS.
But he is not yes sir, three bags full.
No, and he told me that most of these BJP MLAs, including ministers, never read any document and never read the bills that are brought. And when he gets up and he's shouted down, he used to get up and shout down because he actually can read.
Madhuji, he saved us blushes. You know what happened? In Mehbooba regime, when the law minister of Mehbooba government introduced a bill which wanted to shut that little sliver within 370, where, you know, because you could not buy property in the state if you are a non-state subject, what was the other recourse left? You could take property on long lease.
That's right.
Now, state government had no law to prevent such long lease arrangements. So this bill wanted to close that opportunity also.
Yeah.
And because this is your government, BJP MLAs were, in combination with PDP MLAs running a coalition government. So when coalition government pilots that bill, suddenly National Conference and Congress in opposition get up and say there is no need to debate, let's pass it. Because there is a bipartisan consensus on Jehadi agenda, on consolidating the stranglehold of 370 over the state. Everyone should have wondered, the people who fight like cats and dogs on insignificant issues are suddenly together on this bill. I must read. Nobody was willing to read.
Except Pawan Gupta.
And Pawan Gupta kicked up enough shindy
I know that.
in order to thwart that, and because of his persistence, this bill was put to a standing committee.
But he's not somebody they would ever promote or nurture as chief ministerial candidate. One of the best that the BJP has. But
because he's emerged not thanks to their patronage. It is despite their opposition, despite their resistance, he's emerged. So it will be held as a black mark against him.
And though he comes from a family, his father was in jail under the harshest conditions.
Yes.
Under the Praja Parishad movement.
But the kind of politicians at that time promoted were those who would sell their votes for Rajya Sabha election to National Conference. BJP had to expel 8 MLAs.
I know.
Who sold their votes to National Conference, and one of them was a union minister in NDA 1.
Namely?
Mr. Chaman Lal Gupta, who was leader of the legislative party.
Yeah.
So party has been promoting leaders with questionable background, with the most hideous of track records.
Which is why when I talk to people in Jammu, even say walking through the bazaar, talking to shopkeepers who are otherwise pro-BJP or have a nationalist orientation. None of them want elections. None of them want these people to come back to power. They say governor rule is much better because the kind of people who manage to get elected as BJP candidates, as MLAs, and then get made ministers are not worth it at all. And it's better. We are better off without BJP being in power or their MLAs being in power. It's better that the state be under governor's rule. I mean, this is unusual for a state where governor's rule used to be such a contentious issue. Neither Kashmiri Muslims want elections and their elected leaders, nor do Jammu Hindus want elections and BJP leaders coming back.
These BJP leaders were there in the state when Omar Abdullah and Farooq Abdullah, who ran the state government in 2002, postponed delimitation by 25 years.
I know.
The pedestrian reason is we don't know English, we didn't know what was there in the bill and the resolution that assembly passed unanimously.
No, but that's a very big fault with BJP High Command, because see, they know very well that Kashmiri Muslim politicians are very well educated, they're very astute, and they think ahead, they're planning 500 years ahead.
They don't want educated people, they don't want awareness.
Educated people, it's true.
They want rubber stamps.
And I can tell you, I have witnessed it myself. Mehbooba Mufti treats them so badly because maa ben ki gali dete hain. For example, their vocabulary, their language, and Kashmiri Muslims are very sophisticated, at least on the outside. And the salach behavior of some of these people, I was there at the oath taking ceremony. It was embarrassing to see they couldn't even read their oath properly in any language. So this is another thing that PM Modi should have fixed.
Madhuji, even that alibi that we do not have educated leaders, they don't understand English, they don't understand law, they didn't know what was the text of that bill or resolution, is absolutely bunkum, because did governor not know English? You ran the central government. How did you give assent to that resolution and passed it? Which means it was done with your connivance.
You're saying that
Postponement of delimitation in 2002 was in connivance with BJP. Because National Conference was part of Atalji's government in Delhi. And Atalji's government had appointed the governor in Jammu and Kashmir.
True. But
so, you have to see how, at what levels there is connivance, there is capitulation.
Yeah, but I think coming back to Prime Minister Modi's U-turn, knowing full well the kind of adversaries we face in Kashmir, how astute they are, how far-sighted they are in manipulating the state machinery, the least you owe to India in this most important geopolitical state, because if you lose J&K to Pakistan, they can really run riot over the rest of India. It's Jammu region which has actually acted as a speed breaker, road breaker, whatever you call it. And you neglect it and you fill your party with people who are not competent to uphold national interest or even your party interest.
And it is worrying now because the recent statements from Al-Qaeda leadership, recent statements from Pakistan and various other busybodies of pan-Islamic jihad have very clearly shifted focus to Kashmir. Because on Palestine, there is realignment of interest because Saudi Arabia and Israel are in cahoots behind the curtain. There is some kind of mess and confusion in West Asia. So, Kashmir looks like a low-hanging fruit now. So, all the effort, all the resources, all the thinking, all the pressure is going to come on Kashmir now. And this is how ill-prepared we are to handle this challenge. Earlier, there were, pressure relievers in terms of Palestine, in terms of Chechnya, in terms of Kosovo in Adriatic. There were other hotspots where jihad was busy, or even US, where because they were so confident of taking on the sole superpower, that they went and railed against it, and they realized that the benefits were not as big as the cost that they had to pay. But Kashmir is a low-hanging fruit. And India is a namby-pamby state. So it makes much better sense to invest much less and get much bigger rewards. And with this kind of confusion prevailing at the very apex,
True.
where the leadership dithers, where the leadership is confused, whether it's one step forward, two steps back, as you said, and four steps sideways, and willing to wear that noose themselves.
As well-wishers of this government and as well-wishers of Prime Minister Modi, we do need to reach out to him and tell him things are not working as planned or as promised.
As desired.
Or as promised.
Yes.
Things he promised. We're talking about your U-turns. And Prime Minister Modi, as a sincere well-wisher and also somebody who's admired many things that you've done as Gujarat Chief Minister and even as Prime Minister of India, I'd like to say to you with all humility, though I may not sound humble in what I'm saying, which is that you often act under the belief that you're some kind of a magic wand, that no matter what you do will work wonders simply because you're doing it, that no matter who you pick to position in key portfolios will perform miracles simply because you handpicked the person. I think your choices of people, persons in key positions need to demonstrate greater wisdom, because they're not working. And also, please don't take it for granted that anything you do and anybody you pick will work wonders. Things are not going well in Kashmir, largely because you haven't stuck to your original positions and there have been too many U-turns. We plead with you to please take note of these and do a serious rethink and review over the one step forward, two steps backward policy that you've adopted thus far towards J&K. Namaskar.